Welcome to Tales from Flat Space. I'm LJ Spencer, your author and narrator. Just know that the novels in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. This is Part 6 Messages, Chapter 49 Tanish. Sounds like you had a rough time leaving Earth, Jack said as we finished dinner in Loki's galley. I'm sure you got the details from Tony and Carol. I slept through the most terrifying bits, thankfully. Then again, getting kidnapped and drugged wasn't fun. I smirked. And the monster of a headache I had afterwards. Thank God for survey medicine. I took a sip of beer. I know Earth's medicine uses some of the same tech, but it seems like surveys works better. It's because it is better, said Loki. I have the latest technology on board, and I'm able to get the most recent updates when I'm in survey or consortium space. Updates take longer to reach Earth in Unity, and before you ask, it's by treaty. Jack shrugged and lifted his non-alcoholic beer. Yay for fucked up ancestors who couldn't see a good thing when it came knocking on the door? To the fucked up ancestors who did see a good thing but who were run over by capitalism, I said, lifting my own glass and taking a deep breath. So, tell me more about my aunt. What happened out there? Jack frowned and took a breath. Listen, why don't I give you the box now, and we could talk more about her later? He looked conflicted, as if he knew that there would be some things that I may not want to hear, or things he didn't want to talk about. It's not that I don't want to tell you, it's just that it's late, and I think it'll be easier for me to fill in the gaps of what she didn't tell you in whatever journals and logs she left for you. I was a little disappointed and wondered why he was being evasive, but shrugged. Yeah, okay, I said. And Jack, I know my aunt wasn't a saint. She was pretty open with me about being an alcoholic, and Uncle Malcolm told me a short version about her time on Diana, I said. Small box-shaped bots came into the galley and began to clean up the dishes. Spot got up from where he laid at my feet, getting out of their way. Oh, right. So, follow me, he said. Jack stood and led me through the hallway, down a lift, and to a set of double doors on another deck. He paused before the doors. Uh, Loki made this room for your aunt a few months before she died. He took a deep breath and opened the doors. I walked in and gasped. It was a chapel with floor-to-ceiling windows opposite the doors. Even with Loki's rotation, the view was incredible. Slowly, I went over to the windows and stared out of them, losing myself in the stars. I heard the doors close behind me and turned, taking in the rest of the chapel. The furnishings were simple: chairs and cushions around the edges of the room, a mostly empty altar with a lit candle and a dish of burning incense that smelled clean and warm. Above the altar was a stained glass window lit from behind, showing all the religious symbols of unity around a picture of the Milky Way. I looked at Jack, who was staring at the altar. I come here a lot, he said quietly. Mostly when I need to think. Sometimes I try meditating, but I'm not as into it as your aunt was. I do come in a couple of times a week to light a candle and burn some incense. I always figure that your aunt would like me doing that. You really cared for her, didn't you? Jack nodded. We had our problems, but she was my partner and I loved her. She's my family. I miss her so much. She died saving the consortium. I know now that it really was the right thing for her to do. I learned from her last letter to me that she actually knew that she was going to die on the Elder ship, but did it anyway. Jack wiped his eyes and turned away from the altar to a small cabinet. He opened it and pulled out a small wooden box with carved symbols. Jack sighed, then brought it over to me. Here, this was the only personal thing that she had in her room, and she wanted me to give it to you. I also have some of things from her chaplain's office on A4413 that I recently retrieved from Lightbringer. Just let me know when you want to go through them, and Loki can bring the boxes to you. He paused, handing me the small box. There's a data key in the box, but I don't know what's on it. Spot might know more. Spot padded over and stood next to me. Looking down at him, I asked, "Do you know what's on the data key?" "Yes," he replied. "Its contents were copied into my submind in case the data key was lost. It is the original data key that your Uncle Malcolm gave to your aunt at Unity Hub. That was almost a year before he was murdered by the New Harmonists. It has data and logs from when your aunts were on a top secret undercover mission for Unity Intelligence. There are also logs from Unity Hub, Marsha's last days on this ship, and a last letter to you that she never sent. I do believe, as Jack does, that she knew what she was going to die. I also believe she felt that you would be the one to receive this box. Marsha left no further instructions for the data, nor restrictions." Jack looked like he was barely holding himself together. He wiped his eyes again, coughed, then said, "So, I'll, leave you to it. I'll be in my quarters if you want to talk later, or we can talk tomorrow. Just let Loki know. He set aside quarters for you." He put a hand on my shoulder. "I think it was right that you were the one to come. You were the only blood family she really talked about. I didn't even know she had a brother until I met him at Unity Hub." "Good night," he said, as he dropped his hand and left the chapel, closing the door behind him. I stared at the doors for a few minutes, then asked, "Spot, can you play me that last letter?" "Yes, please, take a seat," Spot said, and sat on his haunches in front of the wall across from the altar. I grabbed a cushion and did as ordered. Part of the wall had come down, revealing a screen. When I was settled, Spot put his head in my lap and the video began to play. "Hello, Tanish. I wanted to send this right away, but we're too far from Earth right now. I'll have Loki send this when he and Jack go back to Unity space. Or I'll give instructions to Spot. Spot's an AI submind that I've been working with. He's kind of like a dog. You'd like him, I think." I smiled down at Spot and began to pet him as the video continued. "I know this is going to sound weird to you, but by the time you get this letter, I'll be dead. I've known this was going to be my fate for a very long time. Just know that I went into it with my eyes open. It'll be for a good cause, and the spirits have told me I will serve a greater purpose afterwards. I know you're kind of dubious about spirits, but for me, they're real, and have guided me well over the years." The recording of my aunt's voice paused. "I do wish I could have seen you before we left, but I'm sure you know why I couldn't. I'm really glad you reached out to me all those years ago, Tanish. Having at least one family member who actually cared about me meant more to me than you can ever know. I don't know if your mom or grandma will ever forgive me, even in death. I wish I could have told them why Cheryl died, but I wasn't allowed to. I know they were grieving and angry at such a senseless death, but they never knew just how much it devastated me. It's how I ended up crawling into the bottle and not coming out for several years. One word of advice: don't crawl into a bottle if things go to shit. Crawling back out of it is incredibly difficult." Her recorded face cracked a wry smile. "Jack will have a box of some things that I'd like you to have. I doubt anyone else will take it. Oh, and in the box is a data key. It's mostly your Aunt Cheryl's logs from when we were working undercover, plus some other letters and logs I've added since we left for the consortium. Spot also has this data just in case. I hope you go through it, as it'll explain a lot about our family, I think. You can decide how much you want to tell your mom and grandma. I'm probably breaking all sorts of unity laws, but I don't care. Then again, your Uncle Malcolm was the one who gave me most of that data, so he broke those laws first. Marcia chuckled. Like I said, I don't expect anyone to forgive me for the things I've done. Not you, not even Jack. But I hope that this can bring some closure and understanding for the family. I also hope that you get to spend some time with Jack and Loki. Jack is a very kind man with a good heart. So is Loki. They'd make great uncles in my stead if you let them in. I think they'd adore adding you to their family. She smiled. I wish you happiness, Tanish. Find the people and family that make you happy and who will love you for who you are, even if you fuck up. Most importantly, don't wait to tell people what you feel about them. Life, even in this day and age, is short. Oh, and if you get the dreams or get visited by spirits, I'm sorry. Prophecy is a real pain in the ass. Marcia grinned again. Love you, girl. The video froze on her face. I stared at it for a long time, amazed at how old she looked when she recorded it. Her face had been more deeply lined than it had been before she went to Unity Hub, and her hair had turned pure white instead of salt and pepper. You went through hell, didn't you, Auntie? I thought, as I sat in the quiet of the chapel and petted Spot, ignoring the tears drying on my cheeks. I woke up later to someone shaking my shoulder. What? I said groggily, looking around. Oh, I must have fallen asleep. The side of my face I had used Spot as a pillow was sweaty, and I wiped away hair, even though I knew Spot didn't shed. I blinked a few times, then saw that Jack was standing over us. What is it? Well, it's morning, but also Nemetona left for the survey planet of Olympia a couple of hours ago. Loki and I just got a message that her former captain, Eli, committed suicide. Oh, damn. Carol mentioned him and told me a little of what happened, but neither of them really talked about it. Is Tony okay? I don't know, said Loki. I'm worried because Carol sent us a message before the news about Eli came through. She was worried about Tony. Thankfully, Sun Tzu already had one of the AI psychologists on board, and the psychologist brought Tony the news personally. You have AI psychologists? I asked, curious. Jack nodded. They came about because of Loki, but that's not my story to tell. Oh, right. I looked up to the ceiling. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, Loki. I'm okay with that. Well, I should probably talk about it more than I do, but it's hard, said Loki. But we'll have plenty of time to chat. What do you mean? I asked. Jack looked up. Is that a message from Poe? Yes, one moment, Loki replied. An androgynous looking person with a shaved head appeared on the screen. Hi, Jack. Hi, Loki. Hi, Carol. I know it's been a while since I sent you a letter, but it's been so busy here. I do miss you three, though. You won't recognize the station now. Population's nearly tripled, and it seems like more people arrive every day. I have several more priests working with me now, so I don't have to do all the interpretations myself. I do more of the official negotiations, and I have regular conversations with Marcia. Speaking of that, this letter isn't just to say hello. There's a new spirit here named Eli who asks that someone named Nemetona come and talk to him. Also, the elders ask that Marcia's blood come as well. I'm assuming that's whoever responded to Marcia's request for the box. The request didn't come from Marcia, though. It came directly from the Black Mother. It seems important. When I asked her for more information, all she said was the word Mercury. I hope this makes sense to you, or maybe someone in Survey. I look forward to seeing you soon. And I have some other good news to share with you when you get here, but it's a surprise. Much love to you all. Mercury? Didn't they just send a ship named Mercury to Andromeda? Jack asked. Yes, said another voice. Poe's face disappeared and a new avatar appeared along with Loki's. Hello, Tanish. I'm Sun Tzu. I wish we could have met under better circumstances, but I must ask you all to go and find out what the elders know about Mercury. What exactly is Mercury? I asked. Jack answered. Mercury is a generation ship that Survey sent to Andromeda just after the Survey Unity negotiations. It was built as a possible means of escape if war broke out, but since we averted that, it was sent with a smaller crew for exploration. Sun Tzu nodded. Yes, and I know I can't compel any of you to take on the mission, but I would appreciate it if you could find out what the elders know. If there's something wrong, we know that you or Nemetona would be able to get to Mercury quickly. Jack didn't say anything, but looked as if he was consulting with Loki. Um, Jack? I asked. Why did Poe say that they regularly talk to Marcia? She's talking about visions or dreams, right? I mean, Marcia's dead. Jack winced and sighed. Well, her human body is dead, but she became part of the elders. He sat on the floor next to Spot. I think you should come with us to the consortium and see for yourself. I glared at Jack. You're damn right I'm going. And while we're traveling, you'll explain what the fuck you mean about becoming part of the elders. I looked down at Spot. And why didn't you mention anything about this elder thing? You didn't ask me, said Spot matter of factly. I sighed and shook my head. Sun Tzu nodded. Please send us a message as soon as you can, he said, and his avatar winked out. Loki's avatar filled the screen. We're already en route. We'll be there in a few months. I sent the message to Nemetona, so she would be following us once she's done at Olympia. Although, with her upgrades, she'll probably get there as soon as we do. Great! Wonderful! I said sarcastically. So, Jack, start talking, I demanded. I really need to know what's going on. Chapter 50. Carla. The crowd that came for the memorial had dispersed, and our friends had taken Mandy inside to distract her with help with cleaning. I was pretty sure they were also plying Mandy with strong drinks and trying to talk her out of feeling like an utter failure as a nurse. I stayed by the shoreline, watching the flowers we had thrown in the water dance on the waves. I sat on the beach itself, not the lounge chairs. I hadn't been able to look at them since we found his clothes neatly folded there on the day he died. Maybe I should get rid of them, I thought. I sighed. Eli had been so broken. I barely recognized him when he came off the demon. He certainly wasn't the Eli I remembered. Even when the old Eli peeked out from time to time, I could tell he knew he was dying. It'd be easier if I could be angry. Looking out at the ocean that had taken my friend to his rest, all I felt was sadness. Was this where he left his clothes before he went into the water? Asked a familiar voice next to me. I looked up to see a woman with dark skin and red hair, dressed simply in white pants and a tunic. I blinked. Tony? She nodded. He went into the water from here? she asked again. I nodded. Yes, we couldn't find his body. No one swims in the ocean here since all the fauna is predatory. He knew that, Tony. I think he wanted it that way. Tony turned to stare at me. Her face didn't show any emotion at all, which startled me. She'd always seemed so expressive when we visited her ship. I need to see for myself, she said, and started walking towards the water. But I began, then remembered she wasn't human. She ignored me anyway. She just walked into the water as if she was walking into another room, then disappeared under the waves. A few minutes later, I heard people coming towards me from the house. Tony! Called out a voice. I turned to see Mandy and a person in a strange gray suit. They saw me and asked, She went into the water? I nodded. Who are you? Mandy answered, This is Carol. She's Tony's new captain. Helene's here too. Tony was changed by the ancestors like Eli was. Yeah, right. Zeus had sent us a message about it, but I looked out at the water. You can't go in there, Carol. The ocean's full of predators. It's why we never found him after. Carol smiled and winked. Don't worry about me, Carla. A helmet came over her head, gloves over her hands, and her suit became matte black. She tapped her arm, then said through her comms, I'll be fine. This suit is EVA rated. Even lasers can't get through this. We'll be back. She stared at the water for a moment, then followed Tony under the waves. I stared after her with my mouth open. I wanted to ask a million questions, but they were all stuck in my throat. Instead, I shook my head, feeling helpless. Mandy took my hand. Come back to the house, love, she said quietly. It's just Helene there now. All right, I said with one last look at the water, then let my wife lead me to the house. Carol. The water that rose up around me was murky, and as I made my way to the deeper part of the shoreline, I couldn't help but be awed by the amount of life swimming around me. It was really strange, and I think I preferred the orderliness of ship and station life to this weird, unpredictable world. I turned on my helmet display and tasked it to find collections of metals and components that didn't belong under the water. Tony was still blocking me and turned her regular tracker off, but she wasn't an organic life form. I continued to walk forward, staring at the sea life all around me. Some of the aquatic animals were curious, but most ignored me. I prayed to my ancestors that I didn't look like a tasty treat to something big enough to eat me. After a few minutes of walking along the ocean floor, a blip appeared on the display. There you are, I said to myself. The water was getting darker and colder, so I ordered the suit to accommodate the changes. After a few minutes, I could physically see Tony sitting on the sandy bottom. There were sea creatures all around her, but the avatar was ignoring them. I made my way around slowly, then sat myself in front of her. I opened my suit comms. Hey, Tony, I said. She turned to me and blinked. There's nothing left of him but a few molecules of DNA, Carol. Her voice came through my regular comms. I nodded. Carla said that there are pretty much nothing but predators down here. He shouldn't have died this way. I know the ancestors had the ritual of going to the ocean when they were ready to die, but Mandy said that the way he had put his clothes on the chair told him that it was deliberate on his part. Given the state he was in, I think he knew exactly what he was doing, I said gently. Tony frowned. I just wish I could have him back. I miss him so badly. I remember everything we went through perfectly. I envy humans the ability for memories to fade over time. She shook her head, her red hair billowing around her. Our time together was so short. I thought for a moment. But Tony, until everything happened with the ancestors, you had 3 good years with him. He was your captain and your love. You helped him get through the death of his lover, and you brought him joy. I could tell from some of the memories you shared with me. He only left you, Tony, because he didn't want to hurt you more than you've already been. He loved you enough to know that if he had stayed with you, you both would have become dependent on each other in ways that would do more harm than good. He knew that he wasn't the same person you had come to love. I paused. Let me tell you something, Tony. When I told him before we left about you almost committing suicide, he was devastated and asked me and Loki to help you in any way we could. I think he knew he was dying then and wanted us to make sure that you had friends with you when you were grieving. I looked at my hands. I can't fulfill his last wish for you if you shut me out, Tony. I'm not Eli, but I do care about you. I wouldn't become your captain if I didn't care. I'm your friend, damn it. I don't like the silence where you used to be. I tried to wipe my tears, but then remembered that I was underwater with a helmet on. The creator always told people it was bad to cry in their helmets, Tony said, her avatar's lips lifting in a tiny smile. I laughed. Well, in gravity it's merely annoying, because it pulls at the bottom of the helmet. In zero-G, it sticks to your eyeballs and makes it hard to see, I explained. We were silent for a few moments. Then Tony said, I'm sorry, Carol, for shutting you out. I was angry. At all humans. You as a species are so unpredictable and fragile. Your lives are so short compared to mine, and humans always seem to find ways to be destructive. She picked up some sand and let it slip through her fingers. But there's also joy, happiness, love, and wonder, Tony, I replied. Remember when you told me about the first time you saw a wolf riot star with Eli? He was so odd he could barely speak and explained to you about the Stendhal effect. Humans have their issues, but there's as much good as bad. I smiled. You know, you should show me that star sometime. Would you really want to go? She asked. Yes, I said without hesitation. It will always be a special place for you. I'd like to see the places and things that are special to you because they are special to you. You're allowed to want to do things just because you want to, Tony. And if some of those captains before Eli never asked what you wanted, then that was really shitty of them. She stared at me for a long moment. Eli said something similar to me when we first were together. The Avatar smiled. Suddenly, the hole in my mind that was Tony's absence was again filled with her presence. Her emotions overwhelmed me for a moment, so I closed my eyes, but I just sent her relief and gratitude to her for letting me back in. I opened my eyes after a minute and smiled back at her. The moment was shattered, though, when a large, long animal that looked like a massive sausage with teeth came zooming past, knocking me over. What the fuck? I yelled. Tony didn't say anything. She took my hand, and suddenly we were dripping on the beach in front of Carla and Mandy's house. Thanks for not letting the sea monster eat me, I said with a laugh, and opened my suit so I could step out of it. The sand felt odd as it shifted under my feet. I wiped my eyes, which were still wet from crying. I felt a hand on my face and realized Tony was trying to help me. Her body was completely dry and she was mostly naked. How come you're dry and naked? I asked. The matter that makes up my body is programmable, so I made my skin and hair hydrophobic temporarily. The clothes fell off at some point. Tony shrugged. I laughed, and Tony laughed too. The last of my tension faded away, and being able to feel her in my head made the world seem right again. I sent my suit to the ship for cleaning, and we walked back to the house. Mandy, Carla, and Helene were sitting around the kitchen table drinking tea and coffee. I'm glad the sea life didn't eat you, said Carla with a half-hearted grin. Mandy left the table. Came close, I said, but Tony got us out before it had a chance to even chew on the suit. Carla grinned and nodded. Mandy came back with a robe for Tony, which Tony took with thanks. Helene's tablet chimed. Tony, there's a picket from Zeus with a message from Loki. Tony looked far away. Yes, I'm receiving it now. Loki left for the consortium and asked us to. I felt Tony's surprise, then grief and sadness, then confusion. Carol, who is Poe, and why do they say that Eli's spirit wants me to go to the consortium? Holy shit, they really said that? I said in surprise. Tony nodded, so I continued. Uh, Poe is the kid who survived the death of all the people on their station before Marcia figured out that the Elder's way of communicating made most humans go insane. They're now a priest and ambassador for the Elders. They can also talk to spirits of the dead. I paused. They really asked for you by name? Yes, they said, there's a spirit here named Eli who asks that someone named Nemetona come and talk to him? Tony relayed the message in Poe's voice. My God, that's really spooky, said Mandy quietly. I silently agreed. And they would have no idea who Eli or Nemetona are either, I said. Loki, Jack, and I didn't even know who you were until Sun Tzu asked us to go after you. I took Tony's hand. She looked down, then gently closed her hand around mine. I'd like to show you the consortium, but if you're not ready for this. I think I need to go. They also mentioned something about Mercury, and we need to know what's going on. If there's something wrong with my sibling, I'll be able to get there the fastest. Mandy looked up at that. Did you say Mercury? We just got a ship of people who came back from Mercury. They were people who decided to come back to survey for multiple reasons. One person had a very severe case of deep space syndrome and no choice but to be sent here. No one mentioned any other problems on Mercury except for the DSS case, but they left Mercury over a year ago. We'll have to go and find out, said Tony, standing. Thank you, both of you, for taking care of Eli in his last days. I. I wish. Carla held up a hand. It's okay, Tony. We get it. Carla and Mandy looked at each other, and Mandy nodded. Carla fished in her pants pocket and pulled out the data key. I already sent some of Eli's things to the friends I thought they should go to, and the Admiral's ring went back to Musashi, but I made this for you. It's all the letters he sent to us from when you two met until the last letter I got from him before the ancestor stuff. He loved you very much, Tony. She held out the data key. Tony took it, then let go of my hand and hugged Carla and Mandy at the same time. Thank you, she said. I looked at Helene, who was smiling. Tony turned to Helene. Are you coming with us? Helene shook her head. No, I'm going to stay here for a bit. The chief psychologist here asked if I could stay and help with the deep space syndrome patient, unless you need me. Tony was quiet for a moment, then looked at me. No, I think I'll be okay now. Good, said Helene. Write to me, won't you? Tony nodded. I took her hand. Come on, Tony, let's get going. We need to let Derek and Gabriella know what's going on. We said our goodbyes, Then Tony picketed us back to the ship. I breathed a sigh of relief as I felt the familiar walls around me, with Tony's presence still open to my mind. Chapter 51. Tanish. Something was nagging at me, but I couldn't work out what it was. Spot, show me the logs from when Jack and Marcia were traveling to the consortium. On screen, ordered by date, Spot said. I looked at the list and realized there were only 5 months of entries. Spot, show me info for the last entry I watched. He put the information on the screen, and I saw that it was dated 2 months before her logs started again. Spot, are there any other writings or logs from Marcia between her time at Unity Hub and when the consortium logs began? No. Father and Jack may have more information about that time period. There is nothing stored in my memory nor on the data key. Spot put his head on his paws as he laid on the bed. It was also before I was commissioned. Loki? Yes, Tanish, he said. There's about a 2 month gap of logs between Unity Hub and your trip with Jack and Marcia to the consortium. I know Marcia was a regular journaler. You wouldn't have those logs, would you? Loki didn't respond. Loki? Loki's avatar appeared on the screen in my room. Marcia didn't record any logs during that period. Their avatar looked conflicted. I don't have Hades logs, but I assume that he probably doesn't have any either, since they were running from Unity Fleet. I do have my own logs from the first month and a half here, but... Did Jack ask you not to share them with me for some reason? I asked, starting to get annoyed. I knew Jack hadn't told me everything about the initial consortium trip. Not precisely. What do you mean? I want to know, Loki. Well, I sequestered them. I didn't want to taint the memories you have of your aunt. Also, part of it is very personal to Jack, and I haven't asked his consent to share them. One moment. I waited. Loki's avatar went from concern to surprise. Jack says that since it's you who asked, he'll allow you to know what happened. He has a hard time talking about it, but says that you're family, and if you want to know what happened, he'll allow it. Okay, so what happened? I demanded. From the look on Loki's face, I almost immediately wished I could take it back. Loki frowned. Your aunt started drinking again during the Unity Hub investigation, just after your uncle was killed. She was able to hide it from the others until they were on Hades. One of the Sun Tzu agents went to a club with Marcia and caught Marcia ordering alcohol from the bar when she thought the agent wasn't looking. Another agent told Jack that Marcia would lock herself in her room at night on Hades and not look well in the mornings. Jack and Marcia spent a short time on Musashi before coming with me. Musashi doesn't allow intoxicants on his ship, and apparently Marcia was very irritable while they were there. She started to push Jack away. Oh, I said, my anger cooling. And she hit the booze hard when she came on your ship? Yes, said Loki. Jack explained the effects of alcoholism to me after they had a fight, and Marcia slapped him. She what? I said, shocked. Loki's avatar disappeared. Instead, the screen showed an argument between Jack and Marcia that ended with Marcia looking horrified with herself. I record everything, private or not, and normally delete the private material after a time. But as she had hit him, I kept this. I didn't know, at the time, if she would continue to be a danger to Jack. After this, she started to isolate herself, and that was how Jack and I got to know each other. I had a feeling that wasn't the whole story. Was that all that happened with Jack? I asked. No, Loki said with a frown, then ran another log. I watched in shock as Marcia assaulted Jack. When the video ended, Loki's avatar returned. The next night, Marcia drank enough to have severe alcohol poisoning. She nearly died and was unconscious for several hours, but somehow Jack was able to bring her around once I had neutralized the alcohol in her system. After that, I deleted all of the alcohol drinks from my printers. Marcia asked for that herself after a few days, but was okay with the fact that I had already done it. I'm surprised you didn't lock her in a room or something, I said. Why? What good would that have done? My ship is big. I moved Jack to the captain's quarters, and Marcia kept to herself until she asked to visit Jack, where she apologized to him. This was all before Jack became my captain. I know now that it was hard for him to trust her again, as he did before he left Unity Hub. Even with the apology, that night still haunts him. I sat back in my chair. No wonder he didn't want to talk about it, I thought. I'm surprised you trusted her after that as well. We had no choice, Tanish. By the time we got to Alpha, she had apologized to Jack, stopped drinking, and was almost fanatical about making sure Jack had space from her. She never came into his quarters without permission and wouldn't even touch him without Jack making the first move. He paused. She apologized to me, too, and promised not to hurt Jack again. Your aunt kept that promise until she died. But she's not really dead, though. Jack told me she's now part of the Elders? Her physical body has died, and from what Jack told me about when he met her in the Elder's room on Frida's station, she isn't just Marcia anymore. She told him that she had merged with the Elder who wanted to destroy Ares Station. Jack says that he can tell that there's a part that's Marcia and a part that's something more, he said. It's difficult for both of us, and Jack's emotions around it are complicated. I nodded. I get that, I said, knowing from my own experience that abuse from family was complicated. We'll be at Kalo Station in a week, and you'll be able to see for yourself, Loki reminded me. I have so many questions for her and the elders. Loki smiled. Jack and I still have questions too, but the elders are enigmatic. You may not get the answers you want. Right. Thanks, Loki, I said. And thank Jack for me, for letting you tell me. You're welcome, Tanish, he said, and his avatar winked out. I stared at the keepsake box on the table where I'd put it the night before, then said, Play the next log, Spock. As I listened to the next log, I could hear something more in Marcia's voice and wondered what she would tell me at Kalo Station. Jack, Loki, said a small blur that picketed into the lounge area and launched itself at Jack, giving him a big hug. It's so good to see you after all this time. It's good to see you too, Poe. Sorry it took us so long, Jack said. Poe released Jack from the hug. Jack smiled at them. You're looking good. I take it things are going well? They nodded. Really well, but we can talk about that later. They turned to me and held out a hand. Hi, I'm Poe. You must be Marcia's niece. I took it and said, yes, I'm Tanish. Marcia showed me some memories of you, so I'd recognize you when I saw you, but you were much younger. Poe grinned. I picked it over to say hello to you all personally, but I believe you and I have an appointment before anything else. How? I stammered. A touch of sadness showed in their eyes. Your aunt taught me a lot before her human self left us. But through my work with the elders, I've gotten a lot stronger. The messages I've been getting have been a lot clearer in the last year and a half, especially since David's taken over all the regular captain's duties. They blushed. Poe, was that the surprise? Asked Loki. Frida told you, they pouted. But yes, that was one of the surprises, they replied, smiling wide. David and I got married 6 months ago. Jack's eyes widened. Congratulations, I'm so happy for you. He came over and hugged them again. Congratulations, I said, feeling slightly awkward. Poe blushed again. Sorry, I don't mean to make you feel weird, but I shrugged. It's been a while since you've seen each other, so do you want to postpone the elder thing for today or and do it tomorrow? I shook their head. I can't. Kia and the ancestor are coming tomorrow. The creator is coming? Loki asked. Yeah, she sent a message a few days ago asking to see the elders, and strangely, the elders gave me an exact day and time. It was really odd. They're usually much more vague. Poe shrugged. That day and time is tomorrow. It'll be tiring to do two personal visits in a row. We usually only get one every couple of weeks. Can David and I come over for dinner tonight? Then we could catch you up on all that's been happening here. Yes, Loki and Jack said together. Poe laughed. Great. Come on, Tanish. Loki, let Frida know I'm coming back. You can pick us outside the Elder's room. Of course, Loki said, and suddenly Poe and I were standing outside a set of double doors. Welcome to my station, Tanish, said a motherly sounding voice. That's Frida, whispered Poe with a grin. Hello, Frida, I replied. Thanks for having me. Hello, Frida, said Spot, who leaned against my legs in a very dog-like way. Spot? Said Poe. Marsha's Spot? You got an avatar? Yes, Spot said. I asked Frida to come with Tanish, and she said I could. You're both very welcome. I'll leave you to your audience, Frida said, and her presence left the hallway. That's so weird, I said. How do they do that? Do what? Make it feel like they're really leaving a room like that. Loki does it too. Poe grinned. Oh, that's right, you're from a planet. You get used to it after a while. I'm not sure how they do it either, but it's nice to know that they respect privacy. They blushed, then took a breath. Right, so the way this works is that I will sit on the roots of the elder trees and speak for them, or any spirit that arrives to talk to you. Since you're fully human, you can touch the roots, but just be aware that it can make you feel strange or dizzy, and prolonged contact could have a permanent effect on you. Everything that's said in the room while you're in there will be kept confidential by me, unless I think you will do something to hurt yourself or others. They took another deep breath. So, I think that's all the preamble. Are you ready? I nodded, even though I wasn't at all sure that I was. They pressed the palm plate next to the double doors, which opened to reveal a fantasy forest with 7 pillars of trees that had different types of bark and a canopy of leaves of all shapes and sizes. The room smelled of a forest, too. And actually, it reminded me of family camping trips on Earth. I took a deep breath and stared at it in wonder. Poe motioned for me to come in, then took off their shoes, leaving them by the door. I did the same, and Spot padded in after us. He jumped onto the conference table that was in the clear part of the floor nearest the doors. He didn't say anything, but sat on the table facing the trees. I felt a presence in the room, as if there were several people standing around watching. Poe climbed up to a part of the roots that looked like a bench, closed their eyes, and took a few deep breaths. I slowly walked forward as if in a trance, until my toes touched the edge of the roots. Suddenly I saw visions of places I'd never been. Some places looked like Earth, but some places were completely different. I tried to move myself away from the roots, but my body wouldn't obey me. Help! I yelled in my mind. Don't worry, I've got you, I heard a familiar voice say. The visions finally ebbed and my body went limp. I dropped to the floor only to have Spot cushion the fall. Well, apparently you really did inherit a lot from my side of the family, the voice said with a chuckle. I blinked a few times before I looked up to see the leaves in the shape of a human kneeling in front of me, superimposed with the image of Marcia looking down at me. I belatedly realized that Poe was also next to me, having come down from their perch on the roots. Are you okay? I stared at Leaf Marcia. Marcia? Hello, niece, she said with a grin. She said hello, niece, Poe repeated. I shook my head. I can hear and see her. Not just the Leaf version. Poe went wide-eyed. You can't? I nodded. Do you want me to stay? They asked. Please, don't go, I said quickly. They patted my shoulder. I get it. If you touch the roots and got what I usually get, then I really get it. Stay on the floor. I'll sit nearby, and when you're done, we'll have a snack in my quarters. You're gonna need it, believe me. Poe's not wrong. They were my best student, Marcia said. Poe blushed at the compliment, then made themselves comfortable about a meter away. Auntie, what just happened? I asked. The spirit in Leaf Marcia said, You have the gift. The same gift I did as a human, which let me communicate with the elders. Actually, I think your gift is stronger than mine was. You should talk to Poe while you're here. They can help you with some techniques and meditations to help you control it, as much as it can be controlled. Marcia looked for a moment as if she was listening to something far away, then turned back to me. Oh, you've read my logs. I nodded, and Loki filled in the gap. She frowned, sadness creeping into her eyes, which I noted were all black with small specks of light. I gasped. It really isn't all you, is it? I asked her. Marcia shook her head. I am more than I was, but they offered me this so that I could facilitate communication with humanity. It was their way of honoring me for my sacrifice. I knew that my human body would die here, like they had been showing me my death in visions for a long time. Legba? That guy you met on the station after your mission on Diana? Marcia smiled again. You really did listen to all my logs. Yes. I initiated him into a tradition where he became my patron deity. I didn't know he was also an elder. The Order of Lazarus is everywhere, even in Survey. And it is part of your destiny. What? Yes, you will go to Mercury when you're called and talk to Russ. He is the head priest of Lazarus there. He will teach you all you need to know. But what about Dad and Grandma? I mean, I want to go back and see them and... You did a good thing for them, she said. I'm sorry that my sister hurt you so badly. Don't change the subject. This is my life. I know. And you have time before you're needed. You've helped your father and grandmother and given them a new life. They will understand why you'll need to go. For now, though, you need to learn. I stared at her. My heart knew she was right, But my mind was trying to tell me all the things that I should do as an adult. I should go back to university. I should stay with Dad and Grandma. I should. Oh, God. I said, clutched my head. It's Mama's voice in my head. Fuck, I hate it. Marcia didn't say anything. She just waited patiently, staring at me with her otherworldly eyes. My mind reeled. How many times did I tell myself that I wanted to leave Earth and do something worthwhile? How many times did I wish for a real purpose? And here it is, practically gift wrapped, I told myself. I took a deep breath, told Mama's voice to go to hell, then asked, what do I need to do? There was a noise above Marcia's head, and a vine reached down with a bunch of deep purple fruit. Leaf Marcia picked one of them and held the fruit towards me. Take and eat this. Stay on Kala Station for a while and learn from Poe. Then, when you go to Mercury, meet Russ. He'll recognize you. I gingerly took the offered fruit and put it in my mouth. It was sweet and tart, and as the fruit burst in my mouth, I was able to see, again, many visions, including one of a dark-skinned man with blonde hair and, strangely, a young child. Who are they? I asked, after swallowing. They will be waiting for you on Mercury. Leave Marcia stood. Thank you, Tanish. I know the gift is difficult, but I couldn't trust anyone else with this. There was another rustling of leaves, and a seed the size of a baseball fell at my feet. This is the physicist. He will also be needed on Mercury. Loki will know what to do with it. Marcia frowned. I wish. I wish I could answer all your questions, but these things don't work that way. I love you, Tanish. Wait, do you want me to tell Jack anything? I asked. The leaves started to break apart. Tell him I'm making up for all that I've done, that I love him. Knowing what Loki had told me, tears welled up as the leaf form and the spirit of Marcia melted back into the trees. I leaned against Spot for comfort, sitting in the quiet presence of the elders, crying quietly. I didn't know how long I sat there before Poe cleared their throat. I don't know about you, but I'm starving. Oh, right, I said, wiping my eyes, my own stomach answering loudly. He giggled. Poe stood up, came over, and offered me a hand up. Spot stood up next to me. That was interesting, said Spot. Will you be all right? Yes, I think so. Want some of the doggy snacks I made you? Yes, please, he said, and bounced around like a puppy. Poe laughed. He's pretty cute, they said as they led us out the double doors. He actually wanted a dog avatar? Yes, he was made along with Kia's avatar. He says he's studied everything about dogs and decided to stay a dog since he thinks it's more useful. He even asked a UN admiral on Earth if he was doing it right, and the admiral actually told him he was a good dog, so he's been even more dog-like since. He chose me as his human as soon as he met me, apparently, because I look like Marcia. Yeah, you do look a lot like Marcia, they mused. And the whole thing with Spot is fascinating. So you're kind of like his captain? I suppose. I mean, he's not a ship, obviously, but he's barely left my side. Poe opened a lift at the end of the hall. Frida, what time is it? It's 13:45, she said. David is waiting for you in your quarters with lunch and says there's more than enough for Tanish, too. Poe smiled. Why don't you tell me a story over lunch? David likes a good story. Besides, I think we should talk about a few things, huh? Yeah, I said. I think you're right. Lead on, I said with a smile and followed them into the lift. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me and my writing, there are several ways to do it. Share this podcast, find me on Twitch, or subscribe to my website, ljspencer.ie. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.